Hey guys, this is Naveen here. Welcome back to Naveen Automation Labs. So far in Playwright, we have seen around 30 videos I have prepared, and we have already seen various core features of Playwright, how exactly it works, how exactly the structure, the architecture, what are different methods, features of Playwright that we have already seen that, and then various programs and features also we have covered so far. Now I think it's a very high time that you should start learning about the framework, how exactly we have to design the complete end-to-end framework, which design pattern, like can we use page object model with Playwright? Of course, why not? We can use that. And then in that case, first we have to understand the structure, the architecture of the framework. What are different components that we are going to design? Can we use TestNG with that? Can we use extend report or LER report with that? Can I use something, some other logging things? And then can I use the end-to-end page object model, page chaining model? Can we use it or not? Right? So of course we have to do that, but before that we have to pick one application. So we will be using this new brand e-commerce application. We will try to cover 2 to 3 pages, and then we will try to design the things, and then we will implement the code, and then we will try to learn the basics of CI/CD pipeline, and then we will try to integrate with Jenkins. Such things also we will try to see that. Okay, so a quick thing, because I don't want to write the code directly, jumping into the coding directly. Before that, we have to understand that how exactly the structure, the design is all about. So we are going to use the page object model here. So with respect to the page object model, we have to create number of pages, number of Java classes for each and every page. So according to the page object model is not a framework, it's a design pattern. This design pattern says that for every page, let's say you have home page or login page or registration page. In fact, you are clicking on a specific product also, you are landing on the specific product page. For each and every page, there should be a separate Java class for that, right? So that's what the first structure that we are going to talk about. That is the page layer component we are going to talk about. So this will be my page layer. And I quickly write some basic, let's see, my page layer number one is, this is my page layer. And then we have to design multiple pages over here. For example, the first page will be, let's see, your you can say the home page, from where you exactly start the execution. From here, you will start the execution. After the home page, you will go to the login page or registration page or any page. So for example, let's see, we have this login page, then we have maybe accounts page, then we have registration page, then we have product page, maybe then we have the search page or cart page or checkout page, anything. So number of pages we are going to design here. Now, what exactly you will be writing in these pages? In these pages, we have to maintain the locators. Just like we do it in Selenium, we have the @find by and the by locator. Here, we don't have any concept like that. So we have to maintain the private string locators. We have to maintain. Remember this thing. Why private? Because we have to use the concept of encapsulation when we design the page object model, because this is the first tool in the page object model. It says that you have to follow the encapsulation to design the pages. And then I'm going to create public page actions over here, right? The page action means the page behavior that will define that how exactly you're going to search, how exactly you're going to click on a specific button and all such things. For example, you really want to check that how many products are there in this particular list. So that is the page behavior, the page method of this particular page. So likewise, for each and every page, I'll be creating these two common things. The structure will remain same. Every page, it's having its own locator, and every page is having its own page action. So let's see, my first page I'm going to talk about, this is my login page.java. Same way, let's see, we are going to talk about the second page. Let's see, this will be my home page.java, like that. Then after that, let's see, from there, I want to go to some product page.java, right? And then we are going to write something else. Let's see, I'm going to search something. So I'll say search page.java, like this. Then I really want to register something. Then in that case, I can say, this is my register page.java for the user registration. Like this, we can create n number of pages. For example, let's see, we have this order page.java. Okay, the structure will remain same for each and every page. But one thing that for each and every page, you really need to launch the Playwright. You really need to initialize the Playwright server. You need to write that on which browser that I want to launch my browser and everything, which browser that we really want to use. Either it is Chromium, Firefox, WebKit, something like this, or maybe Chrome. So in that case, we need a separate utility for that. So we need to create a separate Playwright factory .java class that we are going to use that here. So I'm going to create my second component over here. The second component name is, let's see, let me design this component here. The second component name will be, this is your Playwright Factory. Just like we do it in Selenium, we have a driver factory. Here I'm going to create, this is my Playwright Factory. Okay, this is my Playwright Factory.java. Okay, in this Playwright Factory.java, I'm going to create two methods that how exactly you're going to initialize the Playwright. So we will see that, okay, how exactly we are going to initialize the Playwright, this method. And then I'm going to create one more method, that is Initializer Properties. Just like we have the properties file that on which browser that you really want to execute, what is the username, password, the URL of the application, and other stuff also we have to maintain in this particular Playwright Factory.java. So these are the two important methods that I'm going to create, and later on we will keep enhancing this particular Playwright Factory.java also. Then after that, I'm going to create one more third factor, that is the third component. I'm going to create the configuration file, because this configuration file is important to me, because this is my config.property, which is having some certain important things with respect to the configuration, that on which browser that you want to run. As you want to run on Google Chrome, what is the URL of the application, what is the username of the application, and the password of the application that you really want to maintain. Do you really want to run the test cases in the headless mode or not? Let's see, headless equal to true or false in that case. So I'll be controlling the things from here. Actually, I'll be controlling that, okay, yeah, this is what that the environment variables or the configuration variables of the framework we have to control from here. Right? Tomorrow, let's say you want to connect with the database or something, you can enter the database connectivity details over here in your configuration data. This is not my test data. This is my configuration data. So this is the third component that we are going to design. And then what is the next component? The next component will be, now it's time that we have to write the test cases, right? So we have to write the test cases with the help of what? So we are using Java. So either you can pick JUnit or TestNG. So we are going to use TestNG. So that will be my fourth layer. And this fourth layer is called the test layer. Right. In this particular test layer, we have to create multiple test classes. For example, let's say you have a home page test class, login page test class, then you have product page test class, then you have search test class, registration test class, like that. So you are going to create different test cases over here with end-to-end test cases, number of test cases that we are going to write, and how exactly the test format will be. The test format will be, here we have to write @test annotation plus assertion we have to write over here, because without assertion, the test is not completed. So your @test and then test method along with the assertion that we have to write. And every test method is doing what? Every test method is actually calling the respective page actions. For example, let's say you really want to call some features of the home page. Then in that case, what will you do? You start with the home page, then you will search something on the home page, then you will go to the product page. So you're calling multiple page methods, and then whatever the output that you are getting from the page classes or page methods, on the basis of that, you are writing some assertion over here. So assertions are very important. So for example, let's say this is my class name will be something like this. For example, this is my home page test.java file. This is what the file name is. We will be using this, and it should be written with the TestNG annotation. Same thing, let's say you can go with the login page test also if you really want to write some login page test cases. This is your login page test.java. You can design some, okay, fine, really want to do some search test. So you can say, okay, fine, this is my search test.java. The format will remain same, @test along with number of assertions that you have to write it over here. Fine. But the concept here is that where exactly you will be writing the before annotations and the after annotations, like before and after methods or before and after test annotations. Because it's not like every time I really want to launch the browser. So every time I really don't want to write the same common code for launching the browser and closing the browser or something like this. Just like we do @before method and @after method in Selenium. In Selenium, what we do in tear down method, we write driver.quit, and before method, we write driver equal to new Chrome driver. So just exactly similar kind of things. We can do one thing. We can create one base test class, which is the parent of all the test layer classes. I mean, all the test classes that you are writing. So this will be my fifth component that I'm going to design. So this is my base test over here .java. In my base test.java, we will be writing before test annotation and then after test annotation. So this before test annotation will behave like a setup method for me. And then this will behave like a tear down method for me. So this is what we are going to design. Okay, so setup and tear down methods are ready. Then we will use the concept of inheritance. So each and every test class is actually doing what? Each and every test class is actually extending this particular base test. So this is what the inheritance feature we will be using it. And then before test, at the rate after test, if you really want to override in these respective test classes, that also you can do that. So we will do what? We will execute the home page test, and this before test method setup method will call which method? This particular before test method will call the initialize the playwright method. Initialize playwright method, before that initialize property method will be called. It will interact with the configuration.properties file. It will check on which browser you want to run the test cases, what is the URL and everything. So let's see the Chrome browser. On the basis of that, the playwright will be initializing the playwright on a specific browser, and then the setup method will return something. So we have to decide when we write the code that, okay, what exactly is going to return. Same thing, then it will call the home page test. Home page test will call the homepage.java. Homepage.java will return something, and then on the basis of that, we will write the assertion, and then finally the tear down method means simple browser.close method. We will be using it over there. Okay, just like that, we are going to use this. Then we are going to create another utility section also. That will be your sixth portion. I would say this is my utility and the constants. So I'll say this is my sixth component, the utils. Or you can create some constants, or you can create some errors class, or how will you do the custom exception handling in your framework. So those things also we are going to write it over here. So that will be the common component. Let's say the sixth component. So we are going to create one very important file here that is called element util class. Because see, I don't want to write that dot click method again and again in my page actions, right? So we have to create some utilities that will be a common utility with the proper exception handling and everything that we are going to write it. So that is the most important thing, that element util class that we are going to create over here. So this is my element util.java. In this particular element util.java, we will create all the different methods with respect to the locators, with respect to the elements, that how exactly you are going to create the locators, how exactly you're going to create the elements, how exactly you're going to click on a specific button, how exactly you are going to enter the value, how exactly you're going to capture the text of the element, like this. So all these methods we are going to create, number of generic utilities we are going to create with respect to these different actions here. So element util is also ready. Then after that, we are going to create certain other utilities. Let's see, for example, I really want to achieve a data-driven approach. So in that case, I'll be using one Excel util.java. So this will be my Excel util.java. Okay. So here we will be writing the code for Excel read operations. And then other than that, we are going to create some other files also. For example, that your constant.java, because in your framework, you will be using multiple constants. Let's see what is the default timeout, what is the title of the page, what is the home page title, what is the URL title, some constant headers that you really want to maintain. So in that case, I don't want to hard code those values in my test. So in that case, I'll be saying, okay, fine, these are my constants.java for my application. Okay. And then after that, we are going to create some error messages.java also. Let's see something app error.java class. For any validation messages or something like this that you really want to maintain, you can maintain inside the app error.java. So I'll show you practically, you don't worry about that. Right now, we are just designing the things over here, right? So likewise, let's see, we have created number of things over here. We can create one more thing here, that is we can create for the exception handling also. Let's see, for the custom exception that you really want to generate. So in that case, I'll create, this is my framework exception.java class. We will be writing it, in which we will be defining that. So let's say we write that framework exception.java class. So how to define the custom exceptions, we will be writing it over here. Okay, so this is the most important utility section that we have to create, that because framework is all about designing the utilities, designing the removing the boilerplate code, designing the generic code which will work for each and every test case properly. You don't need to write a duplicate code again and again. So how exactly the integration will work here? In that case, all my page classes will start interacting with the element util.java. Let's see, for registration page, I want to register multiple users. So first of all, registration, let's see, this is the test, will interact with the registration page.java. But this class is going to take the data from the Excel util, because in Excel util is having multiple test data. So that will be my seventh component that I'm going to design it over here. This is maintaining my Excel sheet data here. So that will, I'll say, this is my seventh data for a test data point of view. And with respect to test data, we have to maintain one Excel sheet over here. So let's see, this is my Excel sheet where I'll just maintain the data in the form of rows and columns if you really want to maintain that. So these are the number of rows and columns. And then we have to read this particular Excel sheet. So which utility we have to use, which third-party library that we have to use. So in that case, we have to use Apache POI API. So we will create one simple method of Apache POI API. This Apache POI API method is actually read the data from the Excel sheet. Data will be given to this Excel util.java. Then it will be given to whatever the test method that you have written @test annotation. Along with that, we are going to create one @data provider also, right? And then whatever the assertion that you want to write, we will write it over here. So this data provider method will call the Excel util method, and then it will call the respective page class, and then it will do the multiple registration on the basis of that, how many number of rows that you have written inside the Excel sheet. So we will see this flow also for the data-driven approach point of view. So we are creating a hybrid kind of approach. So if someone is asking, okay, what kind of framework it is? So we will say, okay, it's a kind of hybrid framework approach. I'll say hybrid framework, which is having the concept of a data-driven approach also. It's not a single data-driven approach only. Then we are going to create some utilities also. Then we are going to create the reporting part also. We will see that. Along with that, we have certain factory classes plus page object model also we are going to write it. That is a design pattern. So that's why if you overall mix everything, we are using a kind of hybrid approach over here. And it's called a hybrid framework approach. We can see that. Right. So this will be your seventh component. After seventh component, we have to create one more component that is called the reporting and the log section. So with respect to the report, we are going to use two types of report. The first report that I'm going to use, that is your, we can use a standard extent report. We can use the Allure report. We will see that how to integrate the Allure report. And then the third thing we are going to use what? The TestNG default report also, we can use that over here. And then we will add some logs also with the help of Log4j API. We are going to use that. So I'll say, okay, fine. This is my reporting section, report and log section. So this will be my eighth component actually. So let me just write it. This is my, I would say the report and the log section. Fine. And the report and everything will be generated. So to generate the report and everything, we need to add a couple of listeners. So I'll tell you what you mean by listeners and everything. So let's see, for extend report, we have to use extend report listener. So I'll just write it over here. So this is my extend report listener. And then this is my Allure report listener. Okay, so these are the listener that we are going to add in this particular reporting section. And then the report will be generated here. And if for the failure test cases, the failure screenshot will be attached over there. Okay, so this will be my eighth component, right? So likewise, let's see, these are the different basic design that we are going to write. And after that, whatever the code that we have written, we will try to push the code somewhere. So we will push the code where we will push the code to the Git repository. So we will maintain one Git repository here. So what we will do that we will simple move this particular code to a Git repository. So I'll just simply say that this is my Git repo. And then we are going to maintain one Git repo here. So we will push the code to the somewhere, let's see, to the feature branch and then merge with the master branch or something like this. We will see that simple basic concept of this as well. And then after that, we can set up one Jenkins setup over here. So with respect to the Jenkins, we will try to trigger the test cases with the help of some Jenkins a job also we can create that, or we can create one CI/CD pipeline also we can use it over here. So we will see that how to create the Jenkins. It's not Jib, it's job actually. Let me write it once again, job. Okay. So we are going to use this particular Jenkins job, and then we will execute the test cases directly from Jenkins. So what exactly Jenkins will do? Jenkins will read the information from the Git repo. It will just check out the code from the Git repo, and then it will try to trigger the test cases. And then the browser will be launched over here. Then we will see the other infrastructure like cloud and everything. If we get time later on after all these things, we will see that how to execute the test cases on a specific Selenium grid, because Playwright can use the Selenium grid concept also. It can use the Selenium 4 grid to run the test cases to launch the browser on the grid, because Playwright does not have its own grid over here. So we can see that concept also later on. Let's see how to use that. But right now, this is a simple design. These are the 8-9 components that we have to design, push the code, and then finally Jenkins job that we have to trigger. Okay. So today now what we have to do, we have to create a simple Playwrightfactory.java, actually basic skeleton and the foundation of the framework that we are going to create that. So let's see how to do this. Okay. So you can just take the screenshot of this. You can practice if you really want to practice of this particular design. So let's see how to use this now. So I'll do one thing. Let me just maximize the window and come back to the Eclipse. You can use IntelliJ also. It's totally up to you. We are not going to use the same project here. We are going to create a new Maven project. So I'll do one thing that I simply go to file and then I simply go to new and create a Maven project. So let's go to the let's go to other because Maven project is not displayed. So simply go to other. And here we have to go to the Maven section, open the Maven project here and click on next. And so we are going to create a simple quick start Maven project. So this is the filter section. You have to write Maven archetype. We have to use quick start, and the last option that we have to select over here, Maven archetype quick start. The version number could be anything, 1.4 or 1.0, 1.1, that really doesn't matter. After that, you simply click on next, and then you can give a group ID here. So for example, let's see, this is the complete page object model pattern that we are going to design. So I'll write, this is my Playwright form series. Whatever the name that you want to give, you can give that. And let's see, same artifact ID also, I'm giving it over here. So Playwright form series. And then after that, you simply do one thing, click on finish. When you click on finish, you can see that one Maven project got created. I cannot maximize this one. I cannot zoom in, but just try to see that. Here, these are the dummy packages got created. I'm going to delete that. So I don't want these one. We will create our own package structure and everything. So just simple delete that. Okay. Then immediately I'll open my pom.xml file and update what I have to update. First of all, I'm not going to use JUnit. I have to update that with my testng and the Playwright dependency. We have to add that. So how to add this? So simple go to Playwright demo, the previous project that we created, the pom.xml file that we have already created, or you can just go to the Playwright official website. From there also you can copy the dependency. So I'll do one thing. I'll just copy the dependency from my previous pom.xml file. So here, this is my pom.xml file. And here you can see that I'm going to use testng dependency as well as Playwright. Forget about MySQL. You can just ignore that one. This is not for your purpose. You can just ignore this. And now I simply go to this one and then I simply paste the thing over here. Okay, so you can see that Playwright 1.21.0 and testng also we are going to use it over here. Testng to write the test cases and Playwright to write the Playwright things. Then after that, we have to add one more thing that we are going to use JDK 1.8. So we are going to use the Maven compiler source will be JDK 1.8. So just copy these two properties also. I'll do one thing. I'll check in the code today, and then you can just copy the exactly same thing from the pom.xml file and use it in your script. So here, instead of 1.7, I'm going to use 1.8 over here. And then after that, you simply save it. Okay, so the project is ready. You just do one thing, right click on it and simple update the Maven project. So go to Maven and update the project. Click on OK. And here you can see that, yeah, it's showing 1.8 and all the Playwright dependencies, testng dependency also got added. Now it's time to design the first code and the first file. So whatever test cases that you are going to write, we are going to write under src test Java. That is a rule in Maven in Gradle. The test classes should be written under src test Java, and then the page classes, your utilities, or whatever the design things that you have done, like configuration will be there in some other folder, but factory class, page layer, utilities, and all such things should be created inside the main Java. src test Java is only and only for your test cases that you are writing with the help of testng. So what is the first thing that we have to design? The first thing that we are going to design is, let's see, Playwrightfactory.java. Because we have to write this code, right? Initialize Playwright. How will you initialize the Playwright? So let's do one thing. Let's create a separate package over here. So this will be my package. So right click and going to create a package. And the package name that I'm going to write com means company.qa team. Whatever the application name that you are going to use, I'm going to use OpenCart application. You can use Amazon application or any application. We are going to use this OpenCart application. And then what exactly the component is all about. So I'll say, okay, fine, this is my factory package. In this particular factory package, I'm going to create a new class over here. And the class name that I'm going to create, Playwright Factory. No need to select the main method and forget about the main method now. We will not use the main method at all. So what exactly you are going to write inside the Playwright Factory? Inside the Playwright Factory method, first let's write the basic skeleton today. We are going to create method which is helping me to initialize the Playwright. And how will you initialize the Playwright? If you see our Playwright sessions also, and if you see the basic code that we have to use playwright.chromium.launch method, right? So for example, let's see if you remember this particular method, every time you have to write playwright.create method, and finally you have to write .launch method, like playwright.chromium.launch method. Every example that you must have seen that, okay, frame handle also, see playwright.create, and then finally playwright.chromium.launch method that you have to use it here. So exactly same thing that I can do it over here also, but we have to play slightly differently here because we have to design in the form of a generic method. So I'm going to create a method over here. Let's see, public void, and the method name will be, let's see, initialize the browser, because my purpose is that we have to initialize the browser over here. Let's see, this is the method, or initialize the Playwright, whatever the method name you want to give, you can give that. Now, right now I'm saying, okay, fine, you give me the browser name. And on the basis of this particular browser name, I'm going to initialize the browser. So the moment you give me the browser name, I'm just going to write a system.out.println. We can write a log also, but log we will try to implement later. Right now, I'm just using a system.out.println and saying that browser name is whatever the browser name that you are passing. This is the browser name. Fine. After that, what we have to do? After that, we have to write Playwright dot create method. We have to use that. So this Playwright dot create method will give you what? This is giving you the Playwright reference. So can I do one thing? Can I store inside the Playwright reference? So I'll do one thing. This Playwright reference I'm going to maintain over here. And then I just simply say, okay, Playwright is equal to this, because so that I can use this Playwright anywhere in this particular class in any method over here. So I'm just simply making, okay, fine, initialize the browser, playwright.create. This is giving you the Playwright object reference, and I'm storing inside the reference over here. And reference I'm creating at the class level here. So this is the Playwright factory class got created. Okay. Then after that, what should I do? Then I'll be using the same Playwright, and then we have to use this method that which browser that you want to launch. So I want to launch, let's see, Chromium browser, Firefox browser, Safari browser, but I have to write a cross-browser logic. So how will you write a cross-browser logic? So to write the cross-browser logic, I'm going to write a simple switch case statement over here. What will be the key? The key will be the browser name is the key. So this is the key, and value will be what? The value will be the different browsers that you are going to use. For example, I'm going to use a Chrome browser. So how will you use a Chrome browser? So for Chrome browser, I'll simply write Playwright, just like we do it in Selenium, driver equal to new Chrome driver. Here we are going to write what? Playwright dot Chromium browser. Let's see, I want to launch. And then instead of Chrome, let's see, I'm writing Chromium. Chrome and Chromium, both are different things, guys. Don't get confused between Chrome and Chromium. So we will handle Chrome also, and we will handle Chromium as well. So right now, let's see, we are focusing on the Chromium dot launch method that we have to use it. But which launch method that you have to use? So in that case, I'll be using with the launch options, because I don't want to run the test cases in the headless mode. Headless, we will handle it later properly. So right now, I'm just going to use new browser type. So this is a simple code, let's see, so far that we have written. And then after that, we have to use a break statement. So yeah, this is a break statement, because once the case is satisfied, you simply use a case break. But could be possible, right? That's what if someone is calling this particular method and they are passing capital Chrome, right? But you are using the case is equal to small Chrome. They can pass everything is in capital also. So that is also a wrong thing. So how will you handle this? So I'm saying, what if the browser name that you're passing, you convert that immediately to a lowercase. Now the user is passing capital or a small, that really doesn't matter to me. Immediately in my switch case, I'm going to convert that to a lowercase, because I'm maintaining my cases with the lowercase only. So this is my first case, let's see, that I have created. Likewise, I'm going to create second case, third case, let's see, Chromium, and then Firefox, then Safari, and then Chrome browser. So I'll say, okay, fine, this is your for Firefox. Case number 3 is Safari, And then finally, I'm going to use Chrome browser over here. And what you just need to do, instead of Chromium, you have to use Firefox. Instead of this, you have to use what? You have to use not Safari, you have to use WebKit over here. Playwright use the WebKit to interact with the Safari. And then instead of Chrome, what you have to do? You have to write chromium.launch and see this one and make sure that, okay, launch option import is coming. So see, if import is not coming, you can directly import, manually import here. Okay, now you will start getting the suggestions. See, because sometime in Eclipse, the suggestions are not coming. So you can just import manually. So this is the launch option that you have to import. Now we're going to use that set channel, and then you have to give the browser name. From the Chromium, which browser that you want to use? I want to use Chrome browser. And then after that, set headless, you have to use that. And set headless equal to false. So this is the thing that we have written. If you are passing the wrong browser, it will come inside the default case and simple write system.out.println, and that's it. And then finally break it. And then after that, launch the URL and everything. So I'll be using the same browser. And then I'm going to create a new context over here. See this new context. And this browser.newContext method will give you a fresh browser context. So can I create another browser context reference here? Right? So this is my browser context reference that I have created. In the same browser context, I'll be initializing here. And then from this particular browser context, what will you do? Right? As we already seen in the previous sessions, we have to create a new page here. And the new page method will give you what? It will give you a fresh page. So that I'm going to store inside the page reference that I'm going to maintain at the class level. Import the page from the Playwright, and then page reference that you have to use it here. Okay, so this is also fine. And then with the help of this particular page, let's see, I'm going to navigate. So I'll write navigation method here directly right now. And let's say I'm passing the URL, some hard-coded URL right now I'm using it. Later on, we will pass this URL from the configuration file. So I'll do one thing. This is the URL that I'm going to start. So copy this and then simple paste it over. And then I'll return one thing from this particular function that return the page. And I'll tell you why. What is the purpose of returning the page? So if you're returning the page instead of void, what will I write? Because the page is the page class reference. So we have to write page over here. So this is a method. Let's see, this method is actually ready. Simple. Now, today we are not going to talk about configuration properties. So let's see, the simple initialize browser or initialize Playwright method is ready. Now we have to start creating the page layer, because right now we are just concentrating on the basic foundation, the basic skeleton of the framework. So let's create the page layer. Okay, so we will go to the framework project now. And then under this src main Java, I'm going to create another package. And the package name I'm going to write com.qa.opencart.pages, right? And what are different pages that you are going to create? So let's see, this is my first page when you launch the application. And I'll say, okay, fine, this is my, let's see, you can say home page. That is the first home page of this particular application. So let's see, I simple write that I'm going to create new class over here. And the class name will be as per the, according to the page object model, every page should have a separate Java class. So this is my home page.java without main method. So this is my page class is there. Now in this particular page class, according to the design, what we have to do, we have to maintain the private bilocators, or you can say, sorry, not bilocators. Bilocators we say in Selenium, but in Playwright, we have to use private string locators. We have to use that. So how will you use this? So let's see. So I'm going to use the first thing that you have to maintain your object repository in the form of string. So you have to use your string locators. That will be your object repository. Okay, the locators, the selectors that you have to use it here. Now the first selector that I'm going to use in my page. So first of all, that I'm saying, okay, fine, this is my private bilocator, and then I'm going to write this is my string. And let's see, from here, I really want to see that I really want to perform a search. So what will we do? Simple right click, go to inspect. And then here you can see that simple name equal to search. Also, I can use it here, right? Name equal to search. So I can simply create a simple CSS selector over here, that this is for the search locator, which is equal to what? Which is equal to, in double quote, this is my input field. I'm going to write one CSS where name is equal to search. So please make sure, guys, that you are comfortable with the XPath and CSS, because Obviously, there is no point to cover XPath CSS once again. So let's see, this is a private by locator that I have, private simple locator that I have created, not by locator. And then I'm going to create, after entering something, I have to click on this particular search icon as well. So here you can see the search icon is actually with the button with div ID equal to search. So I can quickly create that this is my div hash search. And then after that, there is a button as a child element. So here you can see it's giving you 1 of 1. And it will actually the CSS locator of this particular button. So I'm going to use this one. So let's see, I'll say this is my search icon, which is equal to, this is a CSS selector that we are going to use. And let's say I want to perform some search over here. For example, I'm writing, let's see, MacBook here, and then you enter. So when you click on MacBook and then press search and click on this particular search icon, the result for the MacBook will be displayed here. So here you can see that, okay, yeah, it's searching and it's saying that MacBook related results. And let's say I just want to verify that it's showing as a header that search MacBook or not, right? So let's see, how will you validate that? So in this case, again, I'm going to create a separate locator. And then you can see that H1 search MacBook. And this H1 is actually coming under what? Under coming div ID. So can I say that, okay, div hash ID and then content, and then I'm going to use H1 header. So this H1 header is again CSS selector. This div hash content H1 is a CSS selector for this particular search MacBook. And whatever text is written, we will try to capture that. But right now you have to understand one small thing here, that after searching, we are landing on one page to another page. So that we will see in the next chapter, that whenever you're landing on one page to another page, how exactly you are going to maintain the 2 pages here. So I'm not creating a separate page. I'm including this page locator to this particular page only. And later on in the next session, I'll tell you that, okay, fine, let's move to the next page. So right now I'm just maintaining this locator on the home page only. So I'll say, okay, fine, this is your search page header is equal to whatever the locator that you have used, this one, and then this. Fine. So these are the by locators, let's see, I have maintained. Now, here we have to maintain one more thing here, guys, that this is the page reference, because with the help of page, we can perform any method like page.fill, page.locator, page.click. So we have to maintain this particular page. And this page is actually coming from the Playwright, right? So just like we do it in Selenium, driver dot something, driver dot find element, driver dot any action that we really want to perform. The same thing here, we have to use the page dot something. But right now this page is pointing to null because it has no value. It's not being initialized. So we have to initialize with what? So second thing, in the page class, we have to use the constructor over here, the page constructor that we have to create that. So what is a page constructor? And then what is the purpose of that? Let's see. So I'm going to create one public page constructor. And this constructor says, okay, fine, you give me the page class reference here. And the same page class reference, I want to give it to this guy. So which keyword we have to use? We have to use this keyword over here, this dot, instead of driver. See, we are so habitual with the driver. Page is equal to page here. Okay, so this dot page equal to page. Simple. So let's see, this is also ready. Now the constructor is ready. Now the third section that I'm going to create, that is page actions or methods I have to create. The first page action that I'm going to create, that, hey, give me the home page title. So I'll write a nice method name over here, that get home page title. So how will you capture the title? So I'll say that page dot title method. And then I'm going to return this particular title. And whatever title is there, it will be a string title like this. Okay, so after capturing the page title, same way I'm going to want to see that what is the home page URL. So I'm going to capture the home page URL. So initially, let's see, it is void in nature and writing get home page URL. So how will you capture the home page URL? I'll be writing page.url method over here. And then I'll be returning the same thing. So instead of void, I'll be writing string here. So whatever the URL that you are capturing, we will validate the same URL in my testng class. So I'm not writing any assertion here. This is not my test class. This is my page class. Now I want to perform a search. So I'll be writing public void do search method. So do search method says, okay, fine, you give me any product name, and then I'm going to perform the search. So how will you perform the search? So now I can simply use all these string locators that you have created. So I'll be writing, this is my page dot. We have to do what? We have to use a fill method. And what is the string? What is the selector value? I'm going to use in this particular search, use this particular search. And which value? I want to enter the product name over here. That's it. So just like we use in Selenium driver dot find element dot send keys, here we are using page dot fill method. And then again, I'm going to write that, okay, fine. This time I'm going to write page dot. After filling the product name, I'm going to click on this particular button. So I'm going to use page dot click method now. So simple write page dot click method. Which locator? We have to click on search icon. It means the second one, the search icon that I'm going to use it. And when you click on the search icon, the respective product will be displayed with this particular header. I just want to verify that the search MacBook is displayed or not, right? So how will you validate this? So this is the search page header, which is pointing to the header locator. So I'll just simply use that page dot, see this method, text content method. Just like we have get text method in Selenium, we have text content method here. And this method says, okay, fine, which selector, which string selector. So I'm going to use, okay, fine, a string page header. You give me the content of this particular text content of this particular locator. So this will give you what? The content. And then if you really want to use, sorry, page dot text content. And then after that, if you really want to use some wait also, let's see, it might be possible that search is taking some time. If you really want to use, you can use wait for method also later on. We will see that how to apply the wait for. So you can just simply create the locator dot wait for dot text content also, you can write it. So what I'm saying here is that what you can do that you can simply write page dot locator also, you can use it like this. And which locator? Search page header. And then you can just simply write that wait for, see this, wait for a specific time if the result is coming later. And then after that, if you really want to capture the text, so here you cannot use the text content method or any method over here directly. So right now, let's say ignore this particular wait for method. What I'm saying is that you simply write page dot text content method, of which the page header, and then that's it. And whatever text content is there, you return. So instead of void, I'll be writing what? A string here. That's it. So do search method will enter the value and click on the search icon. And then after that, the search MacBook is coming, and then we will return, and then we will validate. Okay. So let's see, these are the three methods in this particular homepage class that I have written. Now I'm going to create a test class, because according to the design, we have to create a test class so that we can test this feature or correct or not. Okay. I'm not creating any configuration and some other files right now, utilities and all. We will see those things in upcoming chapters. But right now we're just concentrating on simple basic skeleton. So the test method should be created under your src test Java. So what you do, you simply right click on it and go to new and create a package first. I'm going to create a package form.qa.opencard.test package. And under this particular test package, I'm going to create a new test class over here. So let's create a class, and the class name, let's say I'm going to write, this is my home page, test class, no main method, click on finish. And inside this particular home page test class, I have to start writing the test cases over here. So how will you write a test case? So for writing a test case, it's again very simple. That first of all, that we have to maintain what? We have to maintain @ before test annotation for all the preconditions and everything. Right. So right now I'm not creating any base test, right? I'm just writing directly inside my home page test. And I'm saying this is my setup method, right? In every framework, what we do, we create setup and the tear down method. So let's see, this is my before test method that I have created, right? So the setup method, what exactly it will do? The setup method will actually call this initialize browser or initialize playwright method available inside the playwrightfactory.java, because the setup method is responsible to launch the browser, just like we do it in Selenium, like driver equal to new Chrome driver. Same thing that we have to call this particular method, that initialize the browser method. So how will you initialize this particular browser? To initialize this particular browser, we have to create the object of Playwright Factory class. So in that case, I simple write, okay, fine. This is my Playwright Factory PF reference. Let's see, I have created. Import this particular Playwright Factory, and then let's create the object here is equal to new Playwright. And then with the help of this PF dot, which method we have to call? Initialize the browser. And what is the browser name? So let's see, right now I'm just passing the browser name is equal to Chromium. I'm passing. Okay, so what will happen? This initialize browser method will be called browser name is equal to Chromium. It will create the Playwright. It will start the Playwright server. Chromium is the key. And the first case is satisfied, and it will launch the Chromium browser. And then finally, it will give you the new browser context. It will open a new page, and then it will enter this particular URL, which is the hard-coded URL right now. That's okay. We will change it later, and then return the page. Return the page means return the page class reference. So if you're returning the page reference, can I store inside the page reference here? So can I create my own page reference here? And the same page reference, I'm just going to use it here. Okay, so this is also fine. And then with the help of this particular page, can I do one thing? Can I create the object of home page class? And I'll tell you why. Because see this, I'm just going to create a reference here. This is my home page class reference. And the same home page class reference is equal to new home page class reference. And this home page class constructor is, we are creating the object. This will create, it will call the constructor of the home page class reference is expecting what? This guy is expecting that you have to give me the page reference. So can I pass the page reference that I have captured? So that is what the initialize browser method is returning the page class reference, so that the same page we can pass it to the home page. And when it is given to the home page reference, the same page is actually initialized. So whenever you're writing page.title, it will not give you any null pointer exception or something like this. And I'll do one thing, I'll make it private in nature so that no one can access this particular private page property. Otherwise, if someone is trying to create the object of this, they will try to access this. They will start getting null unnecessary. So I'm just avoiding with the private keyword here. Right? So we are using the kind of encapsulation concept that all these data members are encapsulated with the private members are encapsulated with the public page actions. Classic example of encapsulation in the form of page object model. Then again, I go back to the home page test, and then home page is equal to new home page. This is what I have written. Now I'll start writing my @after annotation also. So let's say this is my @after test. It means once the test is done, what exactly you want. So let's say this is my tier down method. And then import this particular @after test. So in tier down method, what exactly you are going to use that? I simply say, okay, fine. What if the page that you have opened, you go to the context and from not content, context. This will give you the browser context. And then from the browser context, whatever the browser that you are using, and then you simply close this. So this will help me to close the page, context, and the browser. Everything will be closed. Fine. And then I'm going to write @test annotation over here. This is just like close method. This is just like driver.close to close the browser. If you're directly jumping to this particular feature, guys, that please don't do that. Please go through all the sessions that we have covered so far with respect to Playwright core features. Please go through it. Then only you will understand these things better. Okay. Now I'm going to write my test method. My first test method that I'm going to write, that public void. I simply say that this is my home page title test first. Let's see. The title is correct or not. @test annotation, we have to import from test.ng. So you can see that import is happening from test.ng. So how will you verify that? Where exactly the title you are getting? The title is actually, we have written already inside the home page class. And here you can see this method. So how will you call this method? So to call the method of any class, we have to create the object of a specific class. So that's why we have to create the object of home page class. So that is the reason behind that I'm creating the object of home page class. And the moment you create the home page class object, immediately you give the home page, this page class reference, so that this page reference will be given to this particular page reference with the help of this keyword. And the same page reference I'm using in my multiple page actions. That's it. So you will never get null pointer exception here. So that's why the home page test reference that I have captured, I can use this particular home page reference dot, and which method you want to call? I want to call get home page title method. And this get home page title method will return what? It will give you a string. So see this, it will give you the page title. So I'll do one thing. Instead of returning this same page title immediately, I'll do one thing. I'll store inside the title over here like this, and then I'll print it on the console also, that system.out.println, that this is your page title. The page title is plus title, and then I'll be writing the return this particular title instead of writing page.title directly. Same thing I'll be using with the URL also. I'll store inside the variable like the string URL, and then I'm just going to print it on the console so that we can see something on the console also, that the correct values are coming or not. So I'll be writing this is my page URL plus URL, and then return the same URL over here. Perfect. This method is better. And now I'll be calling this method homepage title. This is actually getting the title, printing it on the console and giving me the title. So whatever the actual title is there, can I store inside the actual title? Actual title is equal to this, actual title is equal to this. So in that case, I'll be writing an assertion. The moment you write assert equals, what is your actual title? The actual title that you have already captured. And now what exactly you are expecting, right? You are expecting what? So what if actual title is null? Null is equal to something else. That is what your expectation. So we start an application from here, and the actual title is your store. Can you see that? Your store. This should be the title. So I'll write your store. Okay. Because what if tomorrow the actual title is equal to null, or Google, or 123, or your store 123? It is not equal to this. So your test will be failed in that case. So that's why we have to do the proper assertion here. So likewise, can I create one more test for the URL also? So instead of homepage title test, I'm going to write homepage URL test. Which method you will be calling? So in that case, I'll be calling homepage URL method. So always remember, from the test.ng class, you have to keep calling the page class method. That's where the design, if you see that from the homepage test class, you have to keep calling the method from the page classes and keep validating what exactly the page method is returning. You should not return anything from your @test methods. You should return something from the page classes so that you can validate the same thing, and never assert anything in your page class methods. It's a bad practice. According to the page object model, you should not write any assertion in your page action methods. Assertion is the responsibility of the test.ng class, of the test class. So this is what we have written. Now, whatever the actual URL that we are capturing, let's see, this is the URL. And whatever the actual URL, this is the URL. And what is the URL? The URL is this. This is the URL. So this method is also ready. Then I'm going to create a third method for the search quickly. @test annotation public void. Let's see, this is my search test method. So how will you perform a search? Again, homepage method is already ready. If you remember this do search method that we have created inside the homepage class. This is the product name that we have to pass, because I cannot do the hard-coded value here. This is my page method, page library method. So we have to supply the method. Sorry, we have to supply the product, the value from here. So let's say I'm writing the product value something. I'm really looking for MacBook. MacBook, you search for the MacBook. So what will happen in this case? It will search for the MacBook, and MacBook will be given to this guy. And then it will fill the MacBook over there. It means it will fill the MacBook here, and then it will click on search. So see this, click on search. And then finally, whatever the text content of this particular search page header that is pointing to this particular CSS selector, it means after searching this, when you click on it, after searching it, whatever the locator is available, I mean, this element is available, give me the text of that element. So when you capture the text, you return immediately. It means again, page action is giving you something, and now it's time to validate that. Right, guys? So I'll do one thing. So what if the page return, instead of writing return, first I'll do one thing. I'll store in a header over here like this. And then I'm printing the same header so that it looks good, that later on it will be easy for you to debug the code. So I'll write, okay, let's see, this is the search header is this header. And then I'm going to return the header. Looks better. And return the string. And then when you capture the header, you just store inside the string actual, you can say that the actual search header variable name is this, and then you really want to validate. So how will you write it? Same thing, assert equals that I'm going to use, and assert equals. This is your actual header, and what exactly you are expecting. I'm expecting something like this. You can say that search hyphen MacBook. If you search with the MacBook, search hyphen, same value will be appended over here. If you search with capital MacBook, see this, if you're searching with the small MacBook, small m is here. If you're searching with the capital MacBook, and then see capital M is available here. Okay. So this is the third test, let's see, that I have written. And all the test cases are totally independent. We are not creating any dependency like this. So what we have seen, homepage test, homepage.java and playwrightfactory.java that we have created. Let's see it is really working or not. And it is actually generating a simple test.ng report or not. Will this work? Let's see. So which class that we have to execute? We should not execute factory.java, homepage.java, because we cannot execute that because these are not the test.ng classes and they don't have any main method. We have to execute the homepage test.java. Okay, so make sure that okay, test.ng is available in your Eclipse. So that is what I'm assuming it. And then you simple right click on it, go to run as test.ng, and then you simple click on it. Let's see this is working or not. So you can see on the browse Chrome console, browser name is Chromium. See the Chromium browser is launched, entering the MacBook, and the test is immediately passed over here. And you can see on the console logs, the browser name is equal to Chromium, title is equal to store, page URL equal to this, search header is equal to search MacBook, and 3 test cases back to back got executed because we have not given any priority. So it will be executing on the basis of alphabetic order. So H, P, and T is coming first, then HPU, and then search test, which is absolutely working fine. Now, if you really want to search for the different product, you can search for that. For example, if I'm looking for the iMac, so in that case, you have to use iMac. So let's see quickly, is it really working for iMac or not? And later on, if you really want to validate instead of header, you really want to validate that, okay, the products are actually coming or not, that we will see in the next chapter. Right now, we are just creating a simple skeleton of the framework. And here you can see, yeah, this time search iMac is happening. And 3 test cases are absolutely working fine. And you can see the test.ng result also. Perfect. And the test.ng result index.html file will be created or not. So right click on this, go to refresh and go to test output folder and see this. This is your index.html file. You can just simple right click, go to properties, and then copy the path of this index.html and open this in a new tab here. And here you can see a default HTML file. 3 test cases got passed, coming in the green color. And this is the time. 3 test cases are available here like this. Same thing if you really want to simple provide a data provider, because let's see, I want to search for iMac, MacBook, and Samsung also. So exactly same thing you can do in the form of data provider. So you can write a simple data provider as well. So let's see, this is my data provider method. I'm assuming that, okay, you are already aware of basics of test.ng and the data provider in test.ng, because there is no point to cover those things in this particular chapter. So I'll simply say, okay, fine. Let's see, this is my get product data. This is my method name. And this method says that it will behave like a data provider. So I'll be writing @data provider annotation here, provided by test.ng. And after that, I'll simply say you have to return new 2-dimension object array. So I'll write 2-dimension object array like this, right? And then this is my first column that I'm going to write, that I'm looking to search for MacBook in double quotes. So how many columns and how many rows that we have to maintain? We have to maintain, let's see, only 1 column and multiple rows. MacBook like this. And then I'm going to maintain, let's see, iMac, comma, and then I'm going to use the search with Samsung. Perfect. And then finally, semicolon. And then you're returning the 2-dimension object array. So here you have to write 2-dimension object array only. So this method is ready, and we just need to do the mapping with this. So I'm going to write data provider. What is your data provider name? Your data provider name is get product data. So if you're using the get product data provider from here, so you have one by one. So this is my first row. This is my second row and third row. How many columns are there? One column, 3 rows. And then the same data will be given to this particular method, but this method should have one holding parameter. So in that case, I'll be writing one parameter over here. Let's see, give me the product name in this particular product name variable. So MacBook will be given to this guy with the product name, and same product name I'm going to search here. So remove the hardcoded value, and the same product name I'm going to validate here. So I'm just going to append search hyphen product name. So in the first row, MacBook will be given, then iMac, and then Samsung. So this particular test will be executed 3 times because we have given 3 values over here. Later on, we will pass the same value from the Excel sheet also. Now let's see it's running or not. So run as testng and then try to observe the search behavior. It will search one by one. See MacBook, iMac, and Samsung. So that's why you can see it's creating an extra entries over here. And then you can say instead of 3 test cases, we got 5 test cases now here. Same thing will be reflected in your testng.xml file also. And here you can see that 5 test cases got executed. Search test got executed 3 times with different set of data. So this is also a separate file that you can generate. And then there is one more test output file, the emailable report also. This also HTML file. You can see that. You can see 5 test cases are visible over here. So it will generate 2 reports. One is index.html and one is the emailable report.html. It will not send any email or something. The file name itself is like that. And you can see the search test. It's giving you the parameter table, MacBook, Samsung, and iMac. Perfect. So this is also absolutely working fine. So this is just a skeleton, that foundation that we have created. We have set up a couple of things. Later on in the next chapter, I'll tell you that how to configure the files, how to remove all the hardcoded values. And then the next session, we have to introduce the base test, element utilities, and then other constant Excel sheet and everything. We have to introduce that. And then we will try to add the reporting structure, all such things. And then we will try to push the code to the Git repo and running the test cases from the Jenkins. This is the flow that we have to use that. Okay, so I hope this is clear. The first chapter is always a lengthy chapter because designing the diagram and explaining the 3 to 4 component, it takes time. So you can take it as an assignment. You can add more and more test cases over here. And then I'll do one thing. I'll share the entire code in my repository also. You can just take the latest code of the Playwright page object model. You can just take it from there and then refer that code and design your own framework, add more and more test cases here. I hope this is clear. Please subscribe to the channel, guys, if you're liking this page object model series, liking this Playwright series, and share this video with others who are actually looking for the page object model end-to-end with Playwright. I'm sure it will help you a lot to understand the framework concept and the Playwright as well. So that's all for this video. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, take care and God bless you all.